communities, the programming, by local communities, by regions, by states. So to help to use the funding in a more innovative way, and not only to fund traditional nice motorways, which is quite important, by the way, but to have a much more innovative approach on funding. That's one of the objectives of the year as well, and of the kind of discussion we have with the member states, with the region on various issues.
Hi, I'm Adam Edström from Elektronikktidningen in Sweden. One of the things about innovation is that innovation takes an awful long time. It takes like 10 or 15, 20 years before there's a payoff from programs like this. And in 10 or 15 or 20 years, the EU policymakers will have shifted many times, and some of the policies might shift as well. Is there any way to ensure a stability here in these programs that can actually ensure the people in Europe that this will be something in place in another 10 or 15 or 20 years as well? Because to many people, the EU is perceived as a body that makes decisions here, makes decisions there, and there is no long-term strategy. How long-term is this innovation strategy?
It's a very important point, because you have to reconcile short-term politicians with long-term strategy. That's why I said, in a way, the Commission is not badly placed for that, because the Commission can have a much longer-term approach, even if commissioners change, the Commission structure, the Commission system, the Commission programming of the structural funds is a medium, long-term planning. So that's part of our role, and that's why we can help. We can't make the final decision, because that's for member states, but we can help to develop it. And that's why I said that in our message for the crisis, we have clearly indicated that long-term investment should increase.
Long-term investment?
Well, long-term investment is not, short-term recovery.
Yeah.
It's what called to
long-term, 5 years or 10 years?
It's between 5 and 10 years. It's medium and long term. Our financial perspectives, 2007, 2013, it's 6 years, and it continued de facto to act until 2014. And we are preparing the next phase, which will be about the same seven-year period, which gives an objective. One of the elements to convince, and that's why I mentioned the example of Finland, one of the elements to convince is the success stories of countries which have invested long-term versus short-term. And of course, also what happens in the US for the time being with the Obama recovery plan is an interesting thing on the way to support research, universities, and so on. And some of the member states, Germany, a bit France, have in their recovery plan indicated support for long-term investment, in particular research and innovation. And I think we can build on that. We very much work at European level in this area. I'm not talking about the directives, but in these areas through exchange of good practice. And what works is something which can help people to develop long-term strategies. You will never change the short-term vision of politicians, because that's their life. But you can help with EU programming, with approaches to develop a longer term, medium long term, I would say, strategy. It's one of the challenges, in my view, of the next Commission and of the next Parliament, European Parliament. Will they seize the crisis as an opportunity to change, or will we do bricolage, as I would say in French?
Because we had a very good system in Sweden in the 80s and early 90s, but that was killed off in the early 90s, and since then the companies that were part there have bloomed, and but of course the program is no longer there.
So you can look at your direct neighbor, which I know is is a complex political story.
Yeah, may I? Is this working or? Yeah. My name is Lundvall. I'm going to speak later, but I just want to reflect on this question mentioned here, because I think for 10 years I proposed that you establish a new high prestige authority, which should be about something like the European Council for Innovation and Competence Building, which is broader. And the idea would be to have the president of the EU as a chairman. I think you mentioned Finland, that Esko Aho actually established this long-term effort during a crisis.
Absolutely.
And he did so as chairman for the National Science Technology Council of Finland. I think this is one way to institutionalize the long term. And I know that there's a lot of resistance in member countries towards new institutional creations. So every time I propose this, I get to know it cannot be done, but I'm sure it would be a good idea.
The fact that the EIT is now in operation is a good signal, because we had the same kind of resistance. It's a very important point. Esko Aho in between has become Nokia, so it's an interesting thing as well. But no, you are right. An horizontal structure, whatever forms it takes, which pulled together, is a very important thing. Will the EU institutions do it? It might be a message that comes from you, from the ambassadors of the year for the future. I'm sorry that I will have to leave for the EIT. I can take one more question.
Any question? Go, please.
Do you think that the EIT could take up more roles, maybe in the direction as this gentleman suggested, as time goes by? I don't want you to fix yourself on the future of the EIT too much, but obviously, at least from my perspective, there would be a room for more activities and an important role in leading a strategy, a real innovation strategy for Europe.
Well, that's exactly the discussion we are going to have in 20 minutes' time. I think the EIT can play a very important role model. It's still a bit early to say, because it has to concretely establish and to become totally operational with the KICs. But it's certainly an embryon of what could be something of that kind. The only point of the EIT is that it's technology and education oriented. The more cultural element, which I was mentioning, is not part of it. Can it be further developed? I think the EIT is a good nucleus of things. I don't think it can solve every problem, but it can be the nucleus, and they are going to develop, and that's part of the regulation, and probably Martin Skormans told you yesterday, to develop a strategic innovation agenda, which is part of it. And the strategic innovation agenda, which was discussed yesterday with President Barroso and others, is a potentially very important component of what a global approach, whatever forms it can take. So we count on the EIT to provide something. Will it be everything? Remains to be seen. I'm sorry that I will leave you to discuss this fascinating strategic innovation agenda with the EIT.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your activity. Thank you, Director General, for your presence here. Thanks. And